right, so thanks for joining us for our bite-sized nutrition talk for week 3. This week we're talking about snacks and the snack attack that happens to so many of us, and I think is especially harder now that we're working from home a lot more. So what we're going to talk through today, we're going to talk through why we snack and some of the awareness things we can do to make sure that we understand that why. Because without understanding that why, we can't really make a lot of changes. Then we're going to go over when you should snack, what makes a snack healthy, and then some of my favorite snack hacks. I got really excited with the snack puns for this presentation, I'm not gonna lie. All right, so why do we snack? There are a load of reasons and they're different for everyone. So the biggest thing we can do is just be aware for yourself of why you're snacking. So first and foremost, we do snack because we get hungry. If there's a long time between meals, then yeah, that hunger signaling is gonna start and we're gonna wanna snack because of that. Another reason we snack is because food is just around and available in our culture now, and especially since the Industrial Revolution, with all of the food processing that's gone on, food is more available now than it ever has been in sort of the evolutionary history of humans. So we're gonna take advantage of that because that's how our brain is wired. The other thing is location. If you are always working in your kitchen, food, you see it, it's around, you're gonna be more likely to go and eat it. That sort of ties in, with your culture and environment. If your office had a culture before COVID of always bringing in different treats or things like that, it was always around. I know that when those things kind of come in the office, I'm much more likely to grab them rather than if they aren't there. And then the last two I think are more relevant now is particularly distracted eating. So just, munching on something while we work, or if you're in a movie and you buy the whole thing of popcorn, you're like, I'm not going to eat this whole thing. I'm not even that hungry, but I just want something to munch on. Next thing you know, you look down and it's almost all the way gone. And so the biggest thing we can do is just make sure when we have those distractions, we're not eating. And then the other reason I feel like is really common why we snack is because we're emotional. Either we're stressed out or we want to reward ourselves, like, oh, I did a really hard workout, I can eat this or that. And this is a lot of how you grew up in my household. A great skating competition was rewarded with ice cream after. So just being aware of those ties of rewards to food, and also when you're emotional, what your eating patterns are and if they differ from how you might normally eat. So all these reasons are super common and they're going to be different for everyone. So the best thing we can do is just create some awareness. Now, this is going to be very personal for everyone. You have to be very aware, what environmental cues cue you into snack. Is it someone brings something in or you leave a bag of chips on the counter? Changing your environment is going to be the biggest thing to change how and why you snack. Then also being aware of your emotions. When you get super stressed out, do you crave gummy worms or things like that? Being aware again of how your emotions impact your eating habits. And then also being aware of the time of day. If you always get hungry at 4, but you don't eat lunch until noon, and then you don't have dinner until 8, being aware of what those times of day are, and then how you can maybe change your eating schedule to not get hungry at that time of day. So the biggest thing we can do, again, be aware of your cues in yourself and your environment to find ways to make your snacking a little better and find those snacking solutions. So when should we snack? We want to make sure that we have a really, really even spread between our meals. So if you look at this image down in the bottom left corner, when we have 2 really, really big meals, we're going to have huge energy spikes and then crash, and then you spike and then you crash. We really want to try to avoid this by having small meals, right when you get up, maybe a little snack midday, little snack, and then right before bed as well. And this is going to do a few things. It's going to regulate your energy levels so you're not getting those huge energy highs and then the big crashes. This is also going to help increase your metabolism because there's always just this constant level of fuel rather than these spikes. So things are just level and happy. Our body wants to stay within that nice little energy range and we're not throwing it out of whack with massive meals. This is going to help control our appetite, stabilize blood sugar levels, and it's also been shown that eating through the day is going to help regulate your cholesterol. So if cholesterol and lipids are more of an issue for you, this is a potentially a good solution. But it's also good to discuss with your doctor about that. This is also going to help minimize your fatigue and mood swings. You know, I felt like had that sugar crash or the fatigue that happens after. So this will help to minimize that. And then by eating really level throughout the day, it's also going to help decrease your chances of overeating because you're not going to be as hungry when it gets to those big meal times. Now, this, again, the biggest thing here is personal adherence. What can you stick to? This is different again for everyone. Food is super personal and snacking is no different. So with your schedule, what's your work like? When do you like to work out? And then what foods and food combinations are going to fit with your goals, but also be satisfying. So this snacking is really something that's going to be an exercise in personal reflection, thinking, okay, what does my day look like? What foods make me feel full and help me with my goals? And then what can I stick to day in and day out? Even if it changes slightly through the week, just find the thing you can stay consistent with. So what is going to make a healthy snack when you have that snack attack? The biggest thing we want to hit is protein. We want to have 20 to 40 grams of protein every 3 to 4 hours, especially if we're working out a lot, because that's going to help our muscles stay nice and happy. We also want to have a really high quality carb. So this is going to be something like a fruit or a vegetable or a whole grain. So we get that fiber in and also those micronutrients as well. And then depending on your goals, you have the option to add a really quality fat. So either nuts or avocado, things like that. And the makeup of the snack is really going to differ depending on what your goals are. Coach Josh last week touched on the differences, between weight loss, weight gain, performance, and maintenance. And today we're just going to focus on the weight loss and weight gain side of things. If anyone is interested in performance or maintenance and how those two things impact your snacking, feel free to shoot me an email, mary.shook@teamexos.com. But as I said, we're just going to touch on these two today. So for snacks, these are just examples before we dive into the difference between weight loss and weight gain. You can see here we've got, for this first one, we're kind of following this path over here. We're looking at some Greek yogurt, which is super high in protein. And if you're choosing a fat version, that's going to be great to add some extra calories if you're trying to gain a little bit more weight. And it's also going to help you feel more full. We've got berries for that complex carbohydrate and really awesome for micronutrients. And then also, if you like that crunch, if you don't want to have granola, I love doing toasted almonds in there. Again, if you're trying to gain weight, doing things like almond butter or peanut butter are also really great solutions because they are more calorie dense. If you're in a rush as you're traveling, whether you're on a road trip or in the grocery, you can generally always find things like zero sugar beef jerky, as well as a whole piece of fruit. So that, again, you've got your protein, you've got your fat source, and then you have your complex carbohydrate here. All of these are also great options as well. For those of you people who love a bar, I am a big protein bar person. They're so easy, they're so fast. Two of my favorites are the Laura bars with protein. So very similar to a normal Laura bar, but they just have a powdered plant protein in there. So it ups that protein. Or RX bars are great, easy, convenient sources as well. We're going to talk a little bit more about some easy hacks at the very end. So now, weight loss. What is this snack going to look like? We want to hit that protein, again, 20 to 40 grams, depending on how big of a person you are. If you're smaller, aim more on the 20 side. If you're bigger, aim up more on the 40 side. Then we want to have our complex carbohydrate. So this can either be like berries or raw vegetables. Popcorn is also great. If you are someone who likes that salty, crunchy thing, popping your own popcorn and adding your own seasoning mix on there is awesome. And then you have the option to add that healthy fat. If you're someone who finds that, you've had your protein or carbohydrate and then you get really, really hungry in a couple hours, adding that fat in there is going to help slow down the digestion process and keep you fuller longer. So that's going to be more of a personal thing. Will take a little bit more experimenting with. Whatever you do with that fat, just make sure it's a whole fat. So doing boiled eggs is really great. The yolk has so many micronutrients. We want to add that in, or doing things like nuts, avocado again. Now for weight gain, congrats, you have a little more wiggle room here for all of you people trying to put on that extra muscle mass. So that protein is gonna stay the same, that high quality carbohydrate is gonna stay the same, but you have a little more wiggle room with this fat. Fat has the greatest energy density between protein and carbohydrates. So adding some more fats in is gonna help you increase your calories to put on that muscle. So trail mix is a really, really great way to do it. You can either make your own or buy one from the store. Just try and watch how many added sugars. With the dried fruit, they can get a little sneaky there. You can also do a protein shake and then a peanut butter and banana on whole grain bread. Or if you're more vegetarian and you want like a more of a meal type of feeling, you can go with like a rice, beans, and guac type of bowl. The biggest thing for weight gain and weight loss to some extent as well, you want to play with is energy density. So this is going to be more or less calories for a larger or smaller food volume. So let's just see this in a picture because this is a weird concept to talk about, and visualizing it makes it a lot easier. So energy density, when we're talking about things that are low, we're talking about fruits and vegetables, soups, things like that. Things where you can eat a lot of food and not get as many calories. On the flip side of that, we get to the really high energy densities. So these are going to be more of our fats and processed foods. So things like butter, cheese, chocolate. And some of these are really good. You know, olive oil is amazing. We need to cook with it. We need to have some of these high energy density foods. But if your goal is weight loss, you want to aim more to the low to very low side of things to create that caloric deficit. Whereas if you're trying to gain a little more weight, you can kind of play around with this medium to high range a little bit more. So just be sure we cover everything, you know, in this low energy density side. We've got things like yogurt, higher carbohydrate, fruits like bananas, eggs, lean proteins. So this is awesome. None of this is good or bad. It's just how we kind of think about it and break it down. And then on this medium side, so these are things you want to keep your portions a little bit smaller of if your goal is weight loss. Things like pastas, red meat, fatty fishes, things like that, they're still very, very important to have in your diet because they give you lots of omegas from fatty fish, iron from red meat, especially if you're a girl, it's really important. So think in moderation, in very, very much moderation, kind of living over here. All right, so snack hacks. Portions are gonna reign king here. So this photo also does an excellent job of demonstrating our calorie density thought. You know, you can eat a lot of carrots, but you can't necessarily eat as many Twizzlers. So the biggest thing I think is the way to go about this is either really paying attention to that food label or getting a kitchen scale. So once you get home from the store, you've bought everything in bulk, then you can just portion it out super fast in little Ziplocs, Tupperwares, things like that. So that way through the week, you can just kind of grab and go and you don't have to think about it in the middle of your day. Then for things that are more calorie dense, so things like peanut butter, guacamole, sometimes hummus can kind of creep up there too if you're not super careful about it. So buying those in like the individual portion sizes is going to be a great way to just portion control yourself if you're running short on time. All right, so if you guys were here for week one, we kind of talked about this because we can't always have whole foods. We're up, we're going, we're traveling, things happen. So when we're stuck and we have to choose a convenience food, what do we need to look for? So we want to make sure that we're having, particularly for a snack, where just watch your calories. Depending on what your goals are, make sure you're trying to stay as low as you can on these added sugars. And in the ingredients, just watch for anything that's labeled as a syrup or ending in "-ose". That is going to be an added carbohydrate. And then really making sure that we can pronounce almost every ingredient, and that ingredient list is really short. So that way we're sticking to as whole foods of a diet as we can, and we're minimizing our processed foods. All right, so some of my favorite convenience choices. If you are a bar person like myself, I love RX bars. These are quite literally the ingredients. They have them right up front so you can see a really great high protein bar that's similar to Quest bars if you've ever had those. Costco has a version that's great as well. However, if you can't necessarily process like dairy or you're vegan, the no cow bars are a really delicious alternative. They are a little bit more expensive though, so just something to be aware of. Some of my other favorite choices are any type of whole fruit, whole vegetable. And if you're a crunchy person, like that crunch and saltiness is what you really crave. I love doing roasted chickpeas. They are going to have a lot higher protein than like something like potato chips. And then you can make your own seasonings as well. And there's gotten to be a ton of recipes out there. So go ahead and look those up if you're looking for a little bit of a project. There are a few companies that do make these as well. Then zero sugar beef jerky, awesome choice, as well as like prepackaged applesauces. My mom always used to joke with me that I loved baby food, but if it's zero sugar applesauce, it's an awesome, great, convenient way. Just have a little grab and go. Doing boiled eggs, as I said earlier. And then also, if you are looking to up your protein, doing a protein powder is a really great and easy way to do it. With this challenge, we do have an Onnit discount code for everyone. So Onnit is a supplement company based out of Austin, Texas that we at EXOS partner with, and they have some of the most incredible protein products on the market. All of their purity is super, super high. They taste great. And if your coach hasn't reached out with you with their discount code for this challenge, we do have one for you guys. So if you need that, please get in touch with us. We'd love to share that with you to help support our awesome partners out there. So these are some of my favorite convenience choices. I hope you guys enjoyed this presentation on snacking and the snack attacks that can hit, but don't worry, we can conquer them with just a few tips. So if anyone has any questions, let me know or shoot me an email at mary.shook@teamexos.com. Ooh, no problem, Keegan. So we have a question here. How do you find new recipes to try for snacks? I'll typically just Google, whatever it is that I'm kind of craving or something I want. And then I always look for a recipe that's really low in added sugars, also has some type of like protein component. So like for me, I'm a sweet person. Like that's my thing, is like any type of cookie, candy, whatever. So what I'll typically do is try to find just like a higher protein version of that. And then also something that relies a little bit more on like dates or non-refined sugars, but also just making sure that whatever recipe I find, I make sure the portions line up with whatever my goals at the time are. Keegan, you got any questions for us? Ooh, okay, Rachel, I'm 100% on the same page with you. Late night snacking, always craving ice cream. I'm in the same boat. Ice cream is probably my biggest vice of vices. So what I'll do is I'll typically do like what I quote unquote call a nice cream. So I'll take bananas and freeze them, and then I'll put frozen bananas in a food processor with dates. And so it's like you put the dates in first, and then you take just a little bit of hot water and let them sit in there. And then you puree them. So it's like this sweet, almost like toffee-like puree. Then you add in the frozen bananas. And then I do like a scoop or two of protein powder and like blend it all up so it's super, super smooth. And then I'll fold in like unsweetened chocolate chips. So it's like this banana toffee chocolate ice cream, and then I'll put it in a Tupperware and refreeze it. And because with the way the bananas freeze, it stays really creamy. So we've got like no refined sugars. We've got a little bit of fat in there from the unsweetened dark chocolate, and then it's higher in protein as well. Ah, perfect. Yep. So glad I could answer your question. I was read your mind. Cool. Well, awesome. Thank you guys so much for joining, and we'll see you guys next week for our next Coach's Corner. Good luck as we head into week 4 of the challenge. I hope you guys have a great day.